Taylor Dow, and I'm doing illustration on BFF.
My name is Betla Bachtina, and I also am an illustrator for BFF.
I started working on this project probably a couple of years ago when it was in a very rudimentary phase, just sketches of characters and locations in a very brainstormy way. And we decided that we wanted to have a strong contrast between the way the characters are designed with punchy digital block coloring and the environments, which would have a lighter watercolor. And we really wanted Beta on the project because she has more of a traditional oil and watercolor landscape skill set that I think contrasts really well with the brighter, punchier, cartoony characters and give this sort of place that has a lot more room for imagination. Even though it actually is a lot more towards realism, I think that the quality of watercolor is always a little dreamlike.
I am a painter and muralist and illustrator. I grew up in the Soviet Union, and a lot of the work I do is drawing from my childhood experiences and my understanding of what that is. I started off in my creative pursuits really as an illustrator, I think, in terms of that was my first inspiration, is looking through illustrations in children's books as a child. So my favorite part in that has always been finding little anomalies that the artist may be aware of or may not be aware of and put in there on purpose. So this project is really conducive of that, because there's so many little details. In a spread we will have several scenes, and each scene is very detailed, and there's lots of little doodads, and a pencil fell on the floor in the school, or somebody left a backpack in the cafeteria, little things like that.
So the process we go through to create a location, Ross and Terry come up with the concept and the art design for the location. And sometimes we'll all brainstorm together. Once we've picked one that we think is really cool, we think about what the unique rule that defines usually how time passes in that place. So each of the locations has sort of a mechanic like that. And then we think about scenes that take place within the hangout. I'll get a document from Ross and Terry that has the art directions that's here are the 8 scenes that are going to happen at this location. So they'll be Miss Way's classroom has art supplies scattered all over the place, and it should feel really creative and inviting. And the principal's office should feel really scary. And then I give a sketch of that to Beta.
I will just redraw everything. So a lot of what Taylor gives me are ideas, and then I actually make them, objects. Since these are separate scenes, sort of separate little worlds within this hangout, they all need to really feel like a little world, and then they also have to be congruent within the scene, so the picture looks congruent. It's interesting because as a landscape painter, this is a fairly new idea, but at the same time, I feel like I really like linear artwork, and I do illustration, book illustration. Each illustration in a book is its own little, perfect little world.
I am a comics artist in my own time, and in comics you want to have a really good degree of this kind of particular sweet spot of separation between what you're representing and the reader. In this game, there's a lot of extra room to embellish as a reader, or in this case, a player when you're playing the game. So we want to have an art style that allows people to really feel excited to jump off of something that they see in the art, but then take it in a completely different direction if they want to. At the same time, we want to have our characters have really strong offers, particularly around identity and presentation, that guide you in a really particular direction. That's why the characters have maybe stronger lines and firmer artistic choices, whereas the landscapes have a lot going on and are drawn in this sort of watercolor style. It's because we want you to be able to imagine the places between the different locations.
And then I work off of your major skills of creating character and creating scenes that make sense in the sense of personality.
Mm-hmm. You have all this skill around watercolor itself, and these more like realist touches and this skill doodads and like hidden secrets and this background of being really into children's books.
And then Ross and Terry, they do the initial like conception of like what would be cool for tween girls to interact with.
It's really this coming together of a comics artist, a landscape painter, a children's book author, and a game designer. This project is so much all of those things at the same time.